Can you beat Elden Ring as
Sub-Zero?
The rules for this challenge run are as follows. I can only deal damage with weapons or spells that inflict frostbite, the weapons must look like they are made of ice, and I have to defeat all of the shard bearers. If you enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing and leaving a like. This will greatly help the channel grow and will make me just a smidge happier. With that out of the way, let the tournament commence. I did my best to make my tarnished character look like Kuai Liang, who is the young Sub-Zero, went into the intro boss fight and committed die, got Torrent from Melina, Spirit Bell from Rani, started collecting the armor for Soul's fashion purposes, got the Flask of Physic and the first half of the Dectus Medallion. While in Caelid, I also decided to acquire some runes and Bloodhound Step from the Knight's Cavalry, which was really fun by the way. After that, I grabbed the second half of the Dectus Medallion and headed towards Altus Plateau. I spent a good portion of an hour trying to make the shortcut to Liurnia, when I realized that you can actually go a little bit further to cross the gap safely, which I did not know about. That was quite stupid of me, yeah. I grabbed the bonfire next to the academy and got my first weapon, the Icewind Hatchet. At the academy, I found a secluded merchant and bought the warrior's gauntlets and greaves and headed to Altus Plateau. Once there, I found another merchant and bought the tree circuit from him, and thus, the look for Sub-Zero was complete. I leveled up a bit, got to EG, and with his help, I could upgrade my hatchet to +4. With that, I felt semi-confident in fighting Margit, and while the fight itself took some time, I did eventually come out on top with relative ease. With Margit out of the way, I resumed the item collection grind, starting with the Dragon Communion Seal. I got a Dragon Heart that I used to acquire Ice Breath, and got Smithing Stones 5, 8, and 9. Later on, I got to the academy once again and allowed the abductor enemies to grab me, which transported me to the Volcano Manor, where I got Stumberstone 6, and that's when I hit the first roadblock of the run, the Godskin Noble. He guards one of the only Somberstone 7s in the game, and since the skip to it was patched, I had to resort to attempting a boss fight over and over and over again just to get it. And after a 4-hour tour through the salt mines, I finally decided to quit for a time to properly level my character up. And the Golden Scarab Talisman would help me with that. After leveling the character a tiny bit, I went into the Godric boss fight, which was, as per usual, not really challenging. After that, I got to Carrion Manor and started Rani's questline, since some of the best frostbite weapons and spells are tied to her quest, namely Adula's Moonblade and the Dark Moon Greatsword. In the meantime, I completed Celivus' questline and got the Magic Scorpion Talisman. I got to Vare, suffered for the 3 mandatory invasions, completed his quest, and got the medal which would transport me to Mogwin Palace, which has by far the best rune farming spot. After farming for a bit, I went back to the Noble and was finally able to defeat him. After grabbing his Somberstone 7, I went over to Renala and finished her off. Get it? Because I'm Sub-Zero. And in Mortal Kombat, the announcer goes like, nah, forget it. Once I was done with Renala, I got her scepter from the Remembrance and started grinding for that 60 intelligence requirement. After being both bored and tired from all of the grinding, I went to the Radahn Festival for one of my most beloved boss fights of the game. Radahn was definitely not easy this time around, but I still managed to defeat him on my first try.
Round 1. Fight!
After the fighting was done, I went over to Alexander to check if he was feeling alright after the battle, and, well, he said yes. Definitely no point in worrying about him, guys. With Radahn dead, the way to the Eternal Cities was open. This allowed me to further progress Ranni's questline. Also, as a side note, I started to hate Godskin Nobles with a passion after this run. These guys are wonky for all the wrong reasons, like, look at this! Why? Anyway, I got the Curse Mark of Death, defeated Astel and got a Duel's Moonblade. And I completely forgot about the Dark Moon Greatsword, which I would get from Ranni a bit later. Over at Renala's place, I respect to properly use the staff and the Duel's Moonblade, got the Graven Skull Talisman, and gathered all of the available Sacred Tears and Golden Seeds. I also found a Crystal Sword, which definitely fits in with the aesthetics of this particular build. I grabbed the Magic Shrouding Tier from a Tree Spirit, which would boost pretty much all of the attacks that this build has. Over at Leyndell, I dealt with the Tree Sentinel guarding the entrance, defeated both the yellow baby boy Godfrey, and met up with his ugly-ass son, Morgoth.
Round 1. Fight!
Morgentheim was over and I headed to the mountaintops to deal with the fire giant. A lot of people seem to find this particular boss really bad, but I gotta be frank with you, I really do like him. The camera angles and the size of the giant aren't an issue for me, to be honest, and I genuinely enjoy the mechanics that this boss has. After defeating the fire giant on the first try, I went over to Castle Sol for the Nile tag team boss fight, as I did need the secret medallion to gain access to the Halo tree. Once I reached the consecrated snowfield, I got the Graven Mask Talisman, defeated an invader, and got an Ancient Dragon Somber Stone. And over at Mogun Palace, I also got another Ancient Dragon Somber Stone. After that, I got to Farum Azula. Now for the Godskin duo. I attempted to do it legit for about an hour and I immediately got burnt out on this fight. My solution was rather simple, get the Mimic tier. And I do have a lore accurate explanation as to why I went this route. Since Kuai Liang is the second Sub-Zero, let's just pretend that I got help from Bihan, who was the first Sub-Zero that got corrupted into Noob Saibot. With his help, I was able to deal with knockoff Skinny Pete and Huel Barbino with ease. Either way, I don't give a rat's ass about this frankly busted and poorly executed attempt at a boss fight, and neither should you. Oh boy, Rykard. This was just pure agony for me. More than 3 hours of whacking this guy with the Icewind Hatchet almost gave me a heart attack. While the God-devouring serpent phase was fairly straightforward, The second phase just made me want to pull my hair out, because of how wonky Rykard's hitbox is, and because of how prone this guy was to move and jump around. I was barely able to edge out the win. I mean, look, it was by the skin of my teeth. It was that bad. Moving on to what is probably my proudest moment in all of my time playing Elden Ring. I was stuck on Malekith for a solid 4 to 5 hours testing out different weapons and spell combos, almost giving up on the challenge entirely, but then this happened.
Round 1. Fight! Round 2. Fight! Sub-Zero wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
To kill what?
With how much time I had to spend on beating Malekith, being able to beat up Gideon's poor ass with no difficulty whatsoever was just delightfully blissful. Godfrey is most definitely my favorite boss fight of the game. Well, what can I say? Whenever I get to fight this guy, the only emotions I can experience is excitement and joy. His mechanics are top-notch, no dumb and over-the-top attacks, his soundtrack is a banger, the arena looks phenomenal, he's just great all around.
Round 1. Fight! Round 2. Fight!
I then went over to the Halig tree and grabbed another Somber Dragonstone. And went in to farm the Clayman's Spear, which I fully expected to be farming for several hours, since its drop rate is like 4% or something. But the gods of the game blessed me with luck, and I was able to get the spear instantly, got it to plus 25, and gave it the Ice Spear Ash of War. This thing is quite the powerhouse.
Round 1. Fight!
Malenia is another one of my favorites. I studied her movement patterns and mechanics over the course of 3 weeks a few months ago in preparation for my 5 ways to cheese Malenia. By the way, self-plug, go check that video out. And she did not take nearly as many attempts that I thought she would. Being able to defeat her on my 4th try proved to me that I'm not ass at the game, which is quite nice.
Round 2, fight!
Your strength. Extraordinary.
Round 1, fight!
Moog was a different story than Malenia though. He took me a solid 3 hours of attempts to beat, but there's just something about this boss that endears me to him. I can't put my finger on what it is exactly, but I really do like him. Even though I do find the fact that you need to look for a physic tier to negate his nihil attack rather annoying, cause you're gonna be chugging those 4 crimson tier flasks like your Badlands chugs if you don't. But other than that, this boss was really fun.
Round 2, fight!
Another favorite of mine, Placidusax. I am also quite familiar with his moveset and mechanics, so the fight was really pleasant to revisit.
Round 1, fight!
And now for the final boss, or bosses, rather, Radagon and the Elden Beast. Never been a big fan of either, but I didn't find much trouble in going through the boss fights this time around, and I even managed to have some fun while doing so.
Round 2, fight! Sub-Zero wins.
With the beast vanquished, I got to the ending and Sub-Zero became the Elden Lord. Well, if you've watched this far into the video, I am beyond grateful. This challenge run was probably the most fun I've done thus far. This build is a powerhouse thanks to the toolkit it has. The Darkmoon Greatsword, the Ice Spear, the Ice-Rain Hatchet, and Adula's Moonblade are among the top weapons of the game, thus making the build viable for PvE and for PvP. If you want to make a build similar to mine, here are the stats for it with different talismans for PvE and for PvP. Also, what I've noticed is that the Altered Perceptor set looks incredible, and I definitely would have used it instead of the Tree Surcoat if it was blue. Thank you everybody for watching, have a good one, peace.